Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast with Brittney Bundles. Today I really want to talk about a topic, actually a phrase that I used to say and I used to think so often that can definitely be offensive and misinterpreted the wrong way. And I talk often about when my mentality grew, so did my business, because that's so true. There are so many people looking for avenues and looking for ways to better themselves and to also better their business. And although there's so many different things that play into becoming the best you and being as successful as you want to be with your business, there's also a lot of that has to do with one's thinking and one's perception and one's internal feelings. And so I want to talk about that today in this podcast because this is something that a lot of people don't necessarily focus on. We focus on creating multiple streams and we focus on getting started with our business and, we focus on wanting to network. But a lot of times we don't really take the necessary time that it takes and that is required for self-growth. And a lot of times we see the end result of a lack of self-growth in everything that we do. I've noticed that when my mentality changed, like I speak on so often, so many different things in my personal and also business life changed for the better. And so I use every opportunity that I have, every life experience that I have as a learning, teachable moment to help me become the best me that I can be. Because once I'm the best Brittney that I can be, that's when I can help so many people. That's when I can really live and flourish in my purpose and in my full potential. That's when I can fully function and work my passion. And so it's more than just, let me go ahead and find a business and make money and get that bag and do this and do that. There's so much more that you can get out of your entrepreneurial journey besides the money growth and besides the title of saying you're an owner or you're a boss that makes the journey actually worth it. And so we're going to talk about that today in this podcast. Get ready. This is going to be a good one. So let's talk about this in this podcast. The phrase, no one cares, work harder. Now, if you're following me on Instagram at BrittneyBundles_podcast, then you would have saw that I posted this last night. So if you want to see what we're going to be talking about and more information about the podcast, let's connect over there. Again, it's Instagram at Brittney, BRITTNEY, Bundles, BUNDLES, _podcast on Instagram. Now, I used to commonly say this phrase, no one cares, work harder. And that's because that was something that I grew up thinking. Growing up, I didn't have everything handed to me. I wasn't raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had the privilege and I was blessed to be able to see multiple sides of life. And I'm appreciative to that. I had the privilege to get outside of my home area, my home environment, and go see my grandmother who lives in a whole nother state, a whole nother environment. I was able to get done visiting my grandmother out of state and come back to my other grandmother's home, and she lived in a completely different part of the city and a completely different vibe and a completely different feel. And so being open to so many different areas and so many different walks of life and so many different people and so many different perceptions within even my own family really helped broaden my mentality, and it helped me look at things and kind of challenge the way that I used to think. And I'm appreciative for that. But I still grew up thinking that, no one really cares, because where I grew up, it wasn't so much about what has happened that's brought you here or what are you dealing with or why are you not succeeding. It was more so the results. So it was that negative association with everything that anyone did, even though there may have been justifiable reasons as to why someone did what they did or why they felt as they felt. A lot of people wouldn't take the time to really dive deep and find the why or even care about the why. And so that's how I used to go about life as well. When no one cares why you got this D. No one cares why. We just care that, the next report card, you better not have another D, right? And so, and I'm not just talking about specifically my family either. I'm speaking about all experiences, from teachers, from classmates, from work environments. No one cares why you didn't complete all of your tasks. the why behind it. We just know that if you want to keep this job, you better complete it. And so that the why was always suppressed. The why was always, who cares? No one cares. Do better. No one cares. Work harder. No one cares. You better succeed. And so commonly, that's a mindset, a mind frame that we can adapt to, right? And when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I found ways to overcome certain things that kept me held back. And so when other people would come to me and they would say, hey, this is before I did consultations, this is before I did any public speaking events, this is before I even had a YouTube channel. Okay, I would just speak to people in my everyday life. And even sometimes when people would vent to me, I may not say it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, these are excuses. This is another reason as to why you don't want to do it. This is just laziness, They're saying that they want to start their business, but if they wanted to start, all they have to do is start. And I found myself being not too understanding to anyone else's circumstance, because if I found a way to overcome my concerns and my anxieties and my struggles, then you should be able to. You should be able to do that too. And so I want to start off with going in this direction. So not getting started doesn't always constitute laziness or any other negative association. So a lot of people that haven't started their business, they are not lazy. Okay, let's just put that out there. There's a lot of people that haven't found what they enjoy doing, not because of anything that they have done necessarily wrong, but it could be something else that they're dealing with. You have two people and you have, someone that's dealing with a certain issue and you have someone else that's dealing with another issue, and you put the same task in front of them. I can more than likely guarantee that they're going to handle and work through those problems to achieve the task completely differently. What you think, how you feel, what you associate yourself with, the kind of thoughts that you allow yourself to believe, what you put inside of your mind, your heart, all has an effect and all plays out in our lives. And so I used to think, well, like I said, you just don't want to do it. You just don't want to work as hard as me. And that's not true. I had the privilege to meet so many people. And through meeting different people is where I learned most of my lessons from. God has blessed me in a position where I'm able to meet people every day from different walks of life. And the people that I work with help me become a better me, because they help me see things differently that I wouldn't have saw if I stayed cooped up and bottled to myself. And that's another reason why I say that becoming an entrepreneur has so many good benefits besides just making money. There's days that I feel so rich from working with the people that I've worked with, not because I made lots of money, not because I bought the car of my dreams, not because I bought the home of my dreams, but because I was able to help further someone else's dreams, because I was able to use my experiences as a testimony, because I was able to find different ways that helped me grow, because I was able to learn more about other circumstances and other perceptions and other perspectives. And so there are a lot of people that I have come into communication with that are not lazy, that are very hard workers, that work even maybe 2 jobs at once, and really want to start their business, but there are things that they have to get over internally in order to move forward. And so I wanted to put that out there and kind of erase the thoughts that a lot of people may have, that just because someone hasn't gotten started, or just because someone isn't moving at your pace, or just because someone isn't going in the direction that you think they should go in, does not mean that they're lazy and does not mean that they don't want success. What I've learned to do is take the time to not judge, but take the time to actually listen. Listening is so important in communication. Listening is one of the key parts in communication. And I used to hear that a lot when I was growing up, but I never really stepped back to understand what that means. And what that means is that a lot of times before you start just speaking, listen to see exactly what that person is going through. Before you assume that you have the answers, have you listened to what the person is actually going through? Have you listened to what their fears are? Have you listened to why they haven't gotten started? And if you listened, and if you're still feeling, well, I just think it's an excuse, take what you think out of it and understand that everyone has their own right to feel how they feel. And our responsibility, if someone is asking for help and you have resources or you have insight, is to help without making anyone else feel less than you. Because we all go through things that we struggle with. I go through things that I struggle with every year. I go through things that I struggle with that I may have not even known that I struggled with until I decided to do something different. And so what I'm saying is that we're all people. None are better than the other. We all are people with different experiences, different perceptions, different perspectives, different journeys, different gifts, different purpose, different passion. And our job is to figure out what we can do to better ourselves, to keep the betterment of people going and growing. So the next thing that I want to talk about is many are legitimately afraid. So being afraid to do something new does not mean that you're not built for this life, does not mean that you're not an entrepreneur, does not mean that you're not a leader, does not mean that you're anything less than what anyone else tries to make you believe. And so we have to really be careful of the things that we allow others to tell us about ourselves. We have to be careful about the things that we allow ourselves to believe that others may believe about us. There were a lot of people when I grew up that didn't expect, I know this, that didn't expect me to be where I am today. There are a lot of people when I grew up that would say things about where I live, that would say things about my family members, that would say things about the way that I grew up. And the same people now are coming back and they look at me differently. Did you hear what I said? They look at me differently. They think of me differently. And I was always Brittney. Every day I'm growing and I'm becoming a better version of Brittney, but I was always Brittney. But people have a real, a distinct way of putting their thoughts and their perceptions into you and trying to put that in your spirit. And, sometimes their intentions are not even to put that in your spirit, but because they're saying certain things and they're looking at you in a certain way and they're not expecting anything out of you, you can start to feel like, wow, who am I? I remember when I had my first child, I was 19 years old, and a lot of people looked at me and they said, wow, look at her. She's not married. Look at her. She's not going to school right now. Look at her. I expected her to deal with this. Look at her family. Look at this. Look at that. And what I started to do was internalize some of that. Wow, they're right. I remember visiting one of my family members and we drove out of town. My family member said, do you want to take a tour of my house? And I said, no, not really at this point. And, I was pregnant, or did I just have my child? I was pregnant again at that point. And, I just didn't have the energy. I didn't feel good. I didn't want to take the tour. And he told me, well, you ain't never seen no house this nice. You should want to take a tour of my house. And, who are you not to want to take a tour of my house? And so that stuck with me. And, even though I didn't really want to allow that to puncture my thoughts or to puncture my spirit or to really get into my heart, that stuck with me for years. And I used to always think, well, why does he think that I have never seen anything like this? Why does he think that I have never seen anything that's outside of my quote unquote hood or outside of quote unquote struggle? Why does he think that I don't have these experiences? And so that pushed me even further to show everyone. And I got into like a state of rebellion because I was like, you know what? I don't want to have to conform to what anyone else's idea of success is. I don't want to have to go to school just because that's what you think I should do. I don't want to have to walk this way and listen to this type of music because that's what you think I should do. So I got into a state of rebellion saying, I'm going to do it my way because I can. And that helped me, but it also hurt me because I was no longer accepting any advice from people that were giving advice from love because I had so much advice and so many statements put on me that did not come from love. And so at that point, I just said, I don't want any of it. I don't want any advice. And so I was afraid to do things because I didn't know what someone would think about me. And I kept thinking, I don't want anyone to think that I haven't experienced this. So this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to present myself. And this is what I'm going to say. And this is how I'm going to act. And, I found myself not being happy with who I was because I found myself trying to prove everyone wrong. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to prove someone wrong, but there is something wrong with losing yourself and not doing the things that you need to do in order to do so. And so there are lots of people that are afraid to go against the status quo. There are a lot of people that are afraid to start their business because of what their family may think, because of what their family may say. There are a lot of people that are scared to be themselves because of the people that may not support who they are. And so we really have to take a moment to realize that not everyone stops their business or delays the start of their business because they simply just don't want to do it. But a lot of people understand that they have family or they have friends or they have a circle of people that really will not accept the direction or the focus that they're wanting to go down for their life. And so it wasn't until I want to say maybe my adult life that a lot of people started to come back into my life and say, I'm proud of you. I'm shocked at the things that you've done. You blow me back. And I appreciate it, but it also can be a little offensive because it's like, wow, what did you think I was going to do? You didn't see this in me all along. And so keep that in mind that, the reason that everyone is taking their time or the reason that some people may not move the way that you move is because that everyone else is dealing with something something that you may not have dealt with, or dealing with something that you have dealt with that they don't know how to get through. And so what I've done is I've stopped the judging. I've stopped just saying, well, they don't know because of this, or, she hasn't experienced this, so this is why she thinks like this, or she's not as hard of a worker as me. No, that's not necessarily true. And that thinking mentality is very negative, and it also can have a negative effect on not only your personal life and relationships there, but also your business relationships. So keep that in mind. Another thing that I want to talk about is how can we help? So a lot of times we find ourselves identifying things that we've done wrong in our life. Hey, I maybe shouldn't have handled this situation this way. Or you know what, if I had the choice to go back and start a couple years earlier, I would have done that. Or hey, if I had the choice to go ahead and pull out of this business idea a couple years earlier, I probably would have done that. Or if I could go back and do this differently, I would have done it. Or if I can go back and finish school, I'd probably do that. If I could go back and do something else, whatever the case may be. Everyone, has had some type of experience in their life where for a second they may have thought, if I could go back and take this back, this is what I would have done differently. And there's nothing wrong with that. Even if you live life with no regrets, I'm sure there's still some things that you can look back on and say, you know what, if I could do it differently, I would have done it this way. So what I ask myself is, how can I help? So if I know things that have helped me through certain struggles and overcome certain obstacles in my life to make me who I am today, how can I help someone else do the same thing? If I know how hurtful it was for me to not have support of some people, how can I make sure that everyone that I'm in communication with and everyone that I cross paths with know that I support their vision, I support their journey? How can I help anyone else around me become the best them that they can be? And so that's my focus. My focus isn't about being the most popular. My focus isn't about making sure that I say the right things that are trending. But my focus is to make sure that I'm speaking truth and that I'm speaking from a place of experience. I'm speaking from a place of love, and that I'm actually helping as many people as I possibly can. What I found out and what I've always pretty much thought is that people don't really need to see constantly how you're thriving in your life with no lesson or no tips or no advice on how they can do the same. Yes, you have gotten all of this. Yes, you have achieved all of this. But if you haven't reached back, or if you haven't been able to slow down enough to bring someone else along with you, what have you really truly gained? What have you truly gained? I find value and I find a great sense of satisfaction knowing that my business is not only helping me succeed, but it's also helping everyone that we come into communication with. Everyone that's looking for resources on bettering themselves, we have it. Whether it be on the podcast, whether it be on my YouTube channel at Brittney Bundles, whether it be through my consultation services available on my website at badchickhair.com, whether it be through my professional biography services, whether it be I'm speaking in front of a group or a school, whatever the case may be, I always look for what can I help someone else achieve? How can I help push the envelope and challenge others to think differently? So I asked myself, how can I help? How can we help should be the talk of seasoned entrepreneurs. If you've been an entrepreneur for years or for even months, and you have advice and tips and you have resources and just information to share in general that can help someone else, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And so a lot of times what I see happening is people not wanting to share what has helped them, but they're only showing the results. And the results are great to show, but without being able to communicate or show, or without the willingness to want to help someone else get the same as you have or more, like I said, is it in vain? Are you the only one that you're looking to help, or are we all in this together? The next thing that I want to talk about is overcoming internal challenges. So back to the quote that I used to believe, no one cares, work harder. There are some people that do not want to work harder, or want to work harder but cannot work harder because of things that are stopping them internally. Have you ever noticed that when you're feeling down or when you're going through depression or anything negative in your life, how certain things are harder to do? It may be hard for you to get up and get dressed. Doesn't mean that you don't want to get dressed. It may be hard for you to actually get up and go to the grocery store to get food to eat. Doesn't mean that you may not want to eat ever. But it means that some tasks that can be very simple tasks to us in our lives can definitely be affected by the way that we're thinking and the things that we're going through in our life. And so I started to be more compassionate to that. And I started to ask more questions to the people that were like, you know what, hey, I want to start my business, but I still haven't. Now, there are some people that want to start their business. They haven't. They're not going through anything challenging in their life to the extent of that thing that they're going through actually stopping or interfering with their business ideas. There are people that are like, you know what? I just haven't gotten started just because I don't know. I just don't want to get started. And they truly don't want to get started. But I'm talking about a lot of people that I've met that really do want to get started, but haven't been able to overcome certain things that they're going through. So there are people that I work with that are introverts. Believe it or not, I used to be an introvert, and I consider myself to still be an introvert at times. And so speaking to other people, or even something as small as maybe posting, and I say small because in my life and through my perception, posting is something that I do that's like, okay, this is something that I can do that's small that will have a big impact on my business. But I understand and also respect that everyone doesn't think of posting as small. And some people have challenges that are completely different from me. So although I may love communicating with different people, I may love building relationships, I may love sharing my information and advice, there are other people that may want to do that as well, but have to overcome some of their internal limitations and overcome some of their internal challenges in order to be able to embark on that journey of meeting new people, reaching out and sharing advice and tips. And we have to be open to that. And we have to be understanding and compassionate to that. A lot of people open up when they find that they're in a safe place. And so I ask myself often, am I being a safe advocate? Am I someone that someone else can come to and feel safe with asking their questions? Am I someone that someone else can feel comfortable to coming to me and sharing the struggles or the stresses that may come along with the business that they're wanting to run? And so I always want to make sure that I'm being open and I'm keeping my mind frame and my mindset open and as compassionate as I can be. I want to be empathetic. I want to understand what everyone is going through so that I can see if I have any tools or resources to help. And you know what? If I don't know the answers, there is never anything that's too challenging or too big for me to pray about. So I'll take it to God. Help me. Help us. Show me another way. And to get to that point, I had to become open. I had to get rid of the closed thinking. I had to get rid of a lot of pain and a lot of hurt that was associated with my personal life in order to be able to see the good in people. I remember getting comments under my YouTube videos, and some of the comments were just pure negative. And I would find myself getting ready to type something that I knew I shouldn't have typed, finding myself stooping down to someone else's level. And when I've changed my mentality, a lot of the comments that people would write wouldn't even faze me that way. I'm like, okay. And I would actually start to feel sorry for the people. Instead of angry, I would start to feel sorry for the people that were posting those comments. And I started thinking, wow, what must they be going through to even have this much anger and rage toward a complete stranger? Or what are they dealing with to have all of these negative thoughts on, about me on a positive video that was, for maybe 10 minutes? Why? Why are they this mad? And so I began to have sympathy and concern. And my thoughts were no longer, I'm upset with them. They better, they wouldn't say that to my face. But it became, Lord, help them. Touch their heart. Touch their heart because they're hurting. Hurt people tend to hurt people. Angry people are typically angry, and it's not just because of you. And so that's where my mindset is at. And that's another reason that my business is growing, because I'm open. I'm open to being open. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on is opening our mind to other perceptions. This is huge. This is huge, becoming an entrepreneur and building relationships. There are people that have reached out to me and they're like, Brittney, I cannot work with other people that are different ages or, I've gone through different walks of life or in different industries. I try to, but I don't gravitate toward those people, and those people are not gravitating toward me. What do you think is wrong? Why are people in different ages not reaching out? Why can I appeal to this audience? Why can I appeal to this industry? And although I don't know the answers to all of those questions, I'm open to a consultation to dive deeper and figure out different things that we can go through and different ways that we can assess what you're looking to do and how we can bridge the gap. However, I don't know everything, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that. But I do know one thing that has helped me be able to communicate to all different age groups. I look at my YouTube analytics, and it's such a blessing because I see that I have people watching that are men. I have people that are watching that are women. There are certain channels that only have pretty much a 99 or 100% women-based channel. And there's nothing wrong with that. or 100% or 99% man-based channel. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying that I want to be someone that can help everyone, because that's where my heart is, empowering people through entrepreneurship. Because there's so much power in entrepreneurship. There's so much power in community and working with other people and learning about yourself and learning about other perceptions and learning about your industry and learning about your passion and your purpose. I can go on. There's so much value and power in entrepreneurship and empowering people through that. And so one thing that I try to do is I try to be open to other perceptions. And by doing that, it allows me to know that I'm not always right. And it allows me to see other ways of thinking, and it challenges me. What fun or what good is it to go to any job or any business every day and not be challenged? I remember working a 9-to-5 and I was just not challenged at all. It was just very simple, very easy. And I would tell people that I just don't enjoy doing it. And everyone else would be like, well, I don't understand why you're getting good money for not doing anything. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like that. Like I'm just going to work doing pretty much nothing, or doing something that's really, it's an easy task. And I'm doing the same thing over and over again, but there's no growth. And so there's no fun and enjoyment for me. I don't enjoy doing something where I can't grow. I don't enjoy doing something where I'm not learning. I don't enjoy doing something where I'm not introduced to other perceptions or other perspectives. I don't always want to be right. I don't always want to know all of the answers. I enjoy learning, and I enjoy working with other people that help me expand my mind. And I enjoy being open to building my relationship closer to God so that I can be able to have a closer relationship to Him. And so I can have the heart that's needed to bring others closer to not only their dreams, but ultimately closer to Him. And so all of us have to think, or should be thinking, about different ways that we can become our best selves, and different ways that we can challenge some of the things and some of the ways that we've been taught to think, whether it's been by our parents, whether it's been by our teachers, whether it's been by our community or the culture that we've grown up in. A lot of times we have these thoughts, and when you get older and you think about them, like, where did this thought come from? Why am I thinking like this? Who died and made me the one that has all the answers, and the one that thinks the right way, and the one that just knows it all, and everyone else who doesn't get it is just lazy, and they're just, no. So I check myself, and I rethink, and I reevaluate. And if it wasn't for my mindset growing, I wouldn't have grown. And if I wouldn't have grown, my business wouldn't have grown. And so everything is connected. Everything helps further or destroy what you're looking to do. And so I always want to make sure that I'm striving for the best. I always want to make sure that I'm being as compassionate as I possibly can be, because also one thing that I've learned in life is a lot of times life has a way of bringing you off of that high horse. Life has a way of changing and shaking up your world to the point that you look back and you're like, why was I thinking like that? Why was I like that? Whether it be in the form of, money lost, or in the form of a disease, or in the form of something happening with your family, there's always, a lot of times, something that will bring you off of your high horse if you're on there, and if you haven't decided to come down yourself. And we all need to realize that no one is better than anyone. I don't care if you've made $100,000 this month. I don't care if you made $1 million last year. I don't care if you made $5 today. No one is better than anyone. There may be people that are more seasoned in doing what you want to do, or doing what you're doing. There may be people that have more experience. There may be people that have more insight. There may be people that even have more talent. But at the end of the day, everything that we have should be used to push the agenda forward. And the agenda is bringing as many people as we can to their best selves, and also to God. Okay, that should be our agenda. And so how can I bring someone closer to God if I'm far from Him? How can I bring someone closer to their business dreams if I'm not working toward becoming closer to mine? And so it's all a process, and it's all a journey that I enjoy traveling on. This is one of the most rewarding feelings, getting yourself right and being able to help as many as you can along the way. That's priceless. That's priceless. So I can tuck myself in the bed knowing that, okay, whatever I made, I'm rich. I'm rich in love. I'm rich in faith. I'm rich in compassion. I'm rich in knowledge. I'm rich in experience. And so that matters. That matters. So I really hope that this podcast helped today. I know there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with getting started. I know there's a lot of people that are struggling with actually just doing it, just do it. There's a lot of people struggling with that. And I want to let you know that you're not alone, that you have someone here that is understanding to what you're going through. And even if I don't fully understand, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to send up a prayer, and I'm willing to work with you on becoming the best you and also operating the best business that you can possibly have. And so we can work together. You're not alone. Again, I don't want this conversation to end. I always want to keep our conversation going. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Brittney_bundles or Brittney_bundles_podcast. Feel free to go under Anchor and click on my website to learn more about the podcast. Feel free to visit me on my YouTube channel at Brittney Bundles. Comment, send me an email at Btalks@yahoo.com. Whatever the case may be, I love you all. I'm just so in love with this journey, and I'm so in love with everyone that I come into communication with, because we're all in this together. Let's keep it rolling. Thanks so much for listening to the Brittney Bundles podcast, and I'll talk to you all later. I'm out.